There we go. You in the shot?
I guess.
Okay, so I think we are live. Deb is here. Hi, she says. Been following your Australia trip. Looks like you had a good holiday. Yep, we're going to talk about that. And Andy's here. Hi, she says. Welcome back. And we'll just give another couple of seconds here for a couple of other people to join us, if there's going to be some more bodies today. And I'm assuming you can see us and hear us okay. So let us know. And yes, it is champagne. Julie's here. Hi, Julie. Seems like forever since we've done a live. I mean, we did do one on the trip with some success and some not success. Yeah, Deb says she can hear and see us fine. That's great. So does Andy. Jetty's here. She says hello. Hello, Jetty. Nice to see you too. Laura's here. Hi, Laura. And okay, so we'll just see if there's going to be a couple of other people join us, and then we can get started. Oh, right into the munchies right off the bat.
Yeah.
Did I say you could? No, I didn't. Oh, those are loud.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so other people will probably be joining us shortly. So let's get right into it, and don't look at my hair too much. I desperately need a haircut, and I'm not getting one till Wednesday. Yeah, you desperately need a haircut. Yeah, right. It looks like you wore it off. Oh, Audrey's here. Hi, Audrey. Okay, so what's been happening? Well, let's start with my mother's update. She's alive. Moving on. At least when I called her yesterday, she was alive, and it's the same old, same old. So
You
nothing
sound
there.
reasonably okay.
Actually, she did. Actually, she sounded kind of up, so maybe they've adjusted the medication. I don't know. She seemed to be looking forward to an outing. Well, it's an inning, actually. They sometimes order food from a local restaurant or something and bring it into them, charge them about $10 or something. I hate my hair. Like Swiss Chalet, I think last time she had Chinese food. She wasn't sure where it was coming from this time, but she seemed to be kind of excited about that.
Didn't
So
know
that's
where
good.
it was coming from this time?
No, she didn't know. I don't know if they told her. They probably
Oh.
did and she forgot, but whatever. Besides that, according to my sister, while we were away, everything was fine. My sister said it was about same as always. Mom was complaining about something or other, but she's only happy when she is complaining about something or other, so whatever. Laura says, yes, and you have a bit of a burn too. Actually, it's what I call a tan. I don't.
His face always turns red.
I go red. It's not a burn. It's just what color I
and
go.
I got a farmer's tan. It's like on my arms
Yeah.
here, on my arms here, a little on my legs, but the rest is all white. So
Yeah, pretty much. That's what mine is too. So, but I'll be glad when I get my hair cut because this is a mess. This looks like I just crawled out of bed. Which, given the time jet lag we're suffering right now, that's certainly not impossible because it's going to take some while.
the last
to
two
get
nights have
adjusted.
been bad. First
Yeah.
night I wasn't too bad because I stayed up, pushed myself to stay up extra late, and then I was okay the next day. And then last night, or the last two nights, were bad.
Yeah, I'm going to bed later, like a lot later for me, and in order to adjust, and then I go to sleep for 2 hours and I wake up. I'm awake the rest
Yeah,
of the
same
night.
with me.
And then at about 6 o'clock in the morning, I fall back to sleep. So yesterday I didn't get out of bed until noon, which is extremely
Yeah, I fall back
unusual.
to sleep, and then I sleep till like noon. So
And just feeling a little weird, too. At least I am. I don't know. Are you feeling weird?
yeah, feel a little out of
I
it.
feel a little, yeah, I feel a little out of it for some reason. But anyway, so the trip was good. And some of you, I'm sure, have seen some of the videos that I posted. I post one every day of what we were doing. Some more interesting than others, I'm sure. But I think what we're going to talk about today is the trip and sort of do a review of the things we liked, the things we didn't like, the things we found unusual, the things that are memorable, that kind of stuff. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. Now, some of the comments we might make. Okay, I'm going to start with a disclaimer. We like Australia a lot, obviously. That was our third trip. The Aussie people are very nice. Like them a lot too. And Aussie food, whatever you get, is usually very good. The reason I'm saying those three things right now is because I'm going to say some things about Aussie
peculiarities.
That's the word I want. In comparison to us as Canadians. I am not judging here. I'm not saying because they do that or we do this or this is different from us that you know, I find that a negative. No.
Yeah, because what we might think is different going over there, the same would be true of Australians coming to Canada and seeing how
about
we
us.
So
these are not criticisms of Australia nor the people at all, okay? So I don't want it to come off sounding like I'm being prejudiced or something like that. I am not. And just some things that we found peculiar. Peculiar in the sense that it's not something we thought of doing or would have done it that way, but everybody's different. All cultures are. That's why you travel to see different cultures. So I just want to make sure that's clear at the beginning. I am not cutting up Aussies. All right. Jody's here. Hi, Jody. Okay, so let's go with getting there. The flight. So we had a flight from Toronto to Vancouver. That took about 4 hours. Then we had to wait over for what, a couple hours?
yeah.
And then we caught the flight, Air Canada flight from Vancouver to Brisbane. And that's about 14 hours in that. So, you know, you're going on a long flight, and I don't know about you when you fly, but when I fly, I don't really sleep. I kind of doze, but I don't really soundly sleep. Watch a lot of movies on the way. So let's talk about Air Canada's service. The food sucks. That's a given. Although Walter said he didn't mind it.
Well, the food is a lot more, like airline food has never been good to begin with. But the food, the last few times we've flown, have been exceptionally bad.
Yeah. Hi, Anita. Yeah. But even to the point now, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting, in my old age, I'm getting more sensitive to scents or whatever, but even smelling it when they're heating it up before they serve it makes me gag. So needless to say, on the way over, I did not eat that much. In fact, one of the meals came around. I think they gave us dinner, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what that slop was.
Well, that was a choice between chicken or beef, and I chose the beef, and the beef was hard as a rock.
And I thought by the time it got to us, there was no choices left.
No, you had no choice on your side, but I had choice on my side.
Because we were sitting near the back of the plane. So by the time they got to us, the two choices wanted to run out. So I guess I had the chicken, and
No, you didn't have any chicken. Or did you? Or
I don't know if I had anything.
I don't think you had anything.
I don't think I did. I don't think I
Yeah.
bothered. Because we had eaten...
Well,
We
what
ate
happened-
in Vancouver.
We had a sandwich on the way there on the plane, which they actually didn't charge us for.
Yeah,
On the
that was a surprise.
domestic plane, because in domestic flights, we get charged for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And on the international flights, they actually provide you with food, such as it is. But anyway, we had a sandwich on the way there, and they didn't actually charge us.
That's right, because we're waiting.
Yeah. And then we were at the Vancouver airport. We had some food.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we got on, when we had the wait over, we got some food at a restaurant in Vancouver because our flight wasn't going out until, what time was it, Vancouver time?
Almost midnight.
Yeah, it was almost midnight when it was leaving. And we didn't know whether we'd be served any food or when we'd be served on the plane or whatnot, so we decided we'd just eat. So we did. So that was why I didn't get anything when it came around for the dinner time on the plane, because I already had eaten, I was full. which was a good thing as far as I was
And I
concerned.
wasn't really hungry, but it came around, so I thought I'd try it.
And then they did serve us a, what, later was there
Later, they had a
snack?
sandwich.
Oh, yeah, we still don't
Oh.
have the sandwich. That's, okay, you keep, that's probably Amazon. I'm expecting a package from Amazon today, but then what day am I not? So, essentially, the sandwich they brought around, I still don't know what it was that I ate. I think it was supposed to be chicken salad, but that's what I mean. I couldn't tell whether it was chicken, tuna, or what it was, or tofu. And then they did come around a couple of hours before we landed with hot breakfast, they called it. And did I have any of
No,
that?
you didn't. You wanted pancakes,
Oh.
and they ran out of pancakes, so all they had
Yeah.
was the eggs.
Yeah,
So I had the eggs. That was okay, actually. You can't seem to screw up the eggs that bad, so.
I don't know. But anyway, so I didn't have a lot to eat on the plane, but I just didn't feel like it. So, are you comfortable? Was it my, yeah, it's my Amazon package? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Tracy says kangaroo salad sandwich. Yeah. No. Ew. Would have known if it was kangaroo, believe me.
Well, how do you know? You never had
I
that.
tried some of that kangaroo jerky that
Oh,
we got
wow.
last time. And that
I
was,
don't think that's a good example.
well, it's still gross. Well, I didn't see you running out wanting to eat kangaroo
No,
all
I
the time.
didn't.
So what's this suddenly? Okay, of course you eat airline food, so you probably
No.
eat anything. Give it to
I ate
Walter.
your food.
Yeah. So, anyways, it wasn't too great. Oh, and Walter had booked our seats. He had a logic for this. I sort of understand the logic. Don't do it again.
Why?
I didn't like that.
It was all right.
Well, you
I
put
didn't
us-
have to sit next to you, so.
Well, there was an advantage to that. There's 3 seats in the middle. He gets us both on the aisle. So we got a seat between us that's empty. And he's hoping, he's playing the odds because of something he read somewhere, that further back on the plane, in those seating configurations, your chance of having someone sit between you is pretty good that they won't be. Yeah, we got one. In
Well,
fact,
the plane was full, so.
yeah. Well, you said there was a few seats. No, that
There
was
was
the
a
one
couple
come
of
back.
seats on the way. No, on the way there were a couple of seats that people had done exactly what I had done, but they lucked out and got a seat empty in between them.
Yeah, we didn't. Although it wasn't really a big problem. It was some young guy sitting between us, and he slept most of the way in the most weird positions. Of course, I don't know if there's a normal position when trying to sleep on a plane.
Though what you can do is in that situation is what we did on the way back, where you ask the person in the middle if they want to sit in the aisle.
Yeah, or when we book again, we just book 2 seats together. You can
Yeah, but
sit
then
on-
we'll always have somebody on the aisle because the aisle seats go first.
Yeah, but the one reason you did it too was so people wouldn't be we wouldn't have to crawl over people to get out to go to the washroom.
Yeah.
But if it's only 3 seats, if I sit in the middle seat, the only person I'm going to be crawling over is you, and you're half the time up anyways. I don't get up that often.
You know, okay, fine. As
so-
long as you don't feel claustrophobic in that.
Well, unless it's some 10-pound or 10,000-pound that is oozing over all the seats.
See, I was just assuming that. Well, yeah. See, the thing is then if. Never mind.
Well, the other problem too is when you sit on those aisle seats, because the aisles are so narrow, the stewardess, can't call them stewardess, that's an old term, the flight attendants run into your shoulder all the time. Especially there was a couple on there that were just a little bit hippie. And it didn't matter how much I
Yeah, I
squeezed
know.
into the chair, it was boom.
I know.
I would
There's
think they would be black and blue by the end of a flight. They didn't
Yeah, I
seem
know.
to notice.
They had some junk in the trunk.
Yeah, a lot of junk in the trunk. How they got up those aisles and managed between. I
It
mean,
used to be that the airlines a long time ago would hire discrimination because they had, they would say that the stewardess had to be skinny and good looking and had to be tall enough to reach the bins, right? But now they don't do that, and maybe that's not a good thing.
I don't know.
because the aisles are very skinny to get up and down.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was the flight. That was the biggest problem with the flight, and really, not really that big a deal. I just didn't eat, so it was simple as that. I certainly didn't starve.
You didn't drink either, so.
No, because I try not to, because then I have to get up and go to the bathroom, and I do not like airplane bathrooms. They're first of all, I'm claustrophobic. They're too small. 2, they stink like, ugh. And 3, everybody's lined up to go into the bathroom, and it's just like, I don't know. I can usually get through the whole flight without going 14 hours.
See, I don't like doing that because I have had 2 DVDs in my leg, and so I have blood circulation.
Hi, Rosie.
problem. And they tell you that you should drink a lot on a plane to keep your blood circulating.
Yeah, probably should. But I don't. But whatever. That's just me. Andy says, I remember when the flight attendants were young. Now some of them look as old as me.
Yeah.
Yep, I guess the days...
They used to be pretty.
Yeah, they used to be pretty.
Now they're just pretty ugly.
Oh, that's a chauvinistic thing to say, really. Well, we're talking about the guys. The women are worse. No, that's not. Get off that topic. So anyways, we got there, and let's talk about then, the flight home, talking about flights, was, the same kind of thing except in reverse. I did attempt the food twice on it. The first thing was some chicken something with rice. Still don't know what animal they really use and call it chicken.
Yeah, I had that too.
It was kind of gross. It was on these noodles.
It was on very slimy, as my dad would say, very slimy noodles.
Yeah, those were slimy. There was no two ways about it. And, of course, by the time they got to us, I don't know what the other choice was because they ran out of that one.
It was some sort of beef.
Yeah, whatever. But either one was probably just as bad. Then for brekkie, I had gruel. They had a frittata, okay? It was funny. The lady would come and say to, flight attendant would say to somebody, okay, we have a choice of frittata or porridge, raspberry porridge. And people kept looking at frittata. She kept saying, eggs. They didn't seem to understand frittata. Mind you, I saw what you had. You had the frittata. That did not look like a frittata.
Yeah, it's a little omelet.
Yeah, it
was okay.
Okay.
It came with a sausage, too. I like that.
Ooh. And then I got the porridge. Oh, that was a mistake. First couple of bites from it.
It looked pretty gross.
Wasn't too bad, and I put a little maple syrup on it because I gave it a little maple syrup for it just to see if it would improve it. It didn't.
According to their menu, it was apple pancakes, which obviously it wasn't, right?
Obviously not. That was gruel. Or pancakes in a blender, one or the other. But, I didn't really finish that. I don't know. I've just had this aversion. I remember when we first ever went on a trip, first few times I ever flew, I was fascinated by the food, and I thought, why is everybody saying this stuff is so bad?
The food used to actually not be too bad. But now, lately, with the airlines trying to conserve money, the stuff they provide is pretty gruesome.
Hi, Carol. Yeah, well,
I think time
I'd rather pay for the food then, if it's going to be better.
Yeah, I know. I think that if you remember, we were on Cathay Pacific a couple of years ago, and they weren't too bad.
No.
I think it's what they order at the like Air Canada gets the extra below grade shit.
Well, Andy says, I remember when the airlines used to reach dishes and flatware.
Yeah, they used to
used real dishes and flatware. Nowadays, pay more, get less. It's the American way. Well, yes, but ever since whoever the terrorist was that just threatened everybody with the cutlery, then although we didn't have it this time, they were giving for a while out like sporks or something, or they weren't getting a knife, or there was something.
Oh
weird.
no! Before 9/11, you actually got cutlery, but then after 9/11, you got the plastic crap.
So that's the other thing too about airline food. You got this little tray in front of you. You're sitting there, and you're trying not to touch anybody else, and you're trying to cut your food with a plastic knife that wouldn't cut through hot melted butter.
And then at one point in time, you dropped your cutlery, which...
Yeah, I dropped my fork and went, oh, crap, I'm screwed now. The stewardess brought me, or the flight attendant brought me a new one, but because I'm not eating anything off that floor, on the floor of an airplane. God, the bathrooms are bad. Imagine what's on the floor. But anyways, it's really not an elegant way to travel. I would like to, someday, if I had money I didn't know what to do with, I'd really like to go business or first class somewhere where they have those nice little loungy kind of lay down kind of deals, but you know, they're like $20,000 depending on where you're going. So yeah, I can think of other things to spend $20,000 on. So anyways, both flights got us there, got us home, obviously.
Actually,
So
they were both, the flights there and back were pretty much on time.
yeah,
So that
Yeah.
was pretty good. That's a bonus.
we do have another story to tell you in a few minutes about another flight we didn't make, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And some of you know what I'm talking about if you've watched the videos. So our accommodations, which Walter had all planned out before we went in the whole bit, and they all worked out pretty good. We stayed at the Meriton, which is a big hotel chain. We stayed there.
They actually run what they call apartment hotels. And they're like apartments where they come in and service you by making up your bed and putting new towels out and stuff like that. They don't do any major cleaning up in between type of thing, but they do provide you make up your bed and provide you with new towels and amenities and stuff like that.
Yeah, Tracy says, Stephen lost weight. Well, I'm glad you think so.
I don't think so. I don't think I have.
Might have lost an ounce.
And I don't think you've lost
I don't
any.
think I've lost any. It's just the shirt. Actually, though, we didn't eat a lot of junk on the trip.
No, we didn't tend to eat we tended to eat one big meal and a second smaller meal or whatever.
Yeah. Carol's bounced ahead to, she said, I hate Jetstar Airlines. Small closed seats, always late, and they charge you for water. Yeah, I think, Carol, you made that comment on the particular video that we'll come to and talk about in a few minutes about why we don't like Jetstar either. So our accommodations.
Yeah, so in Brisbane, on the first week in Brisbane, I had the Meriton. And then
Hi, Cindy.
We headed to the Gold Coast, and I also booked a Meriton there too, but a studio room. The one we had in Brisbane was a one-bedroom. And the one thing, the nice about any of the Meritons we've ever stayed in is they're very nice accommodation. They're very clean and modern. They provide you kitchen facilities and laundry facilities.
Yeah.
And for a reasonable price.
Their dishwashers, though, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Meriton or whatever, trying to figure out how dishwashers in these type of hotel rooms we get work takes a bit of tinkering with, because they don't work the way we're used to. They're just weird. Actually, the washing machines, too, are kind of a little different. They basically cook the hell out of your clothes. But, I mean, that was how we were able to go lightweight.
Well, actually, it was pretty cool because I bought 2 pairs of shorts and 2 pairs of pants and about 5 shirts, and I ended up only wearing 2 of the shirts because I kept washing them all the time.
Yeah, I could have taken less too, and I only took 3 pairs of shorts, and I took 4 shirts. 3 shirts I wore, 2 pairs of shorts I wore, because we had the washing machine. So, you know, while you're wearing one, you can be washing the other one every other day or so, whatever. I mean, it's not like we're rolling in the mud. So that worked out pretty good. It gave my suitcase more room to bring back fabric. We'll talk. Okay, so most of our accommodations, well, all of our accommodations were fine.
Well, yeah, and then I chanced and got a hotel in. I had a hard time. I was looking for a hotel that had a washer and dryer, so we didn't have to do, so that we didn't have to bring as many clothes, right? So in Cairns, I got a boutique hotel that had, that was an apartment like setup, which wasn't like the Meriton chain. And actually, it was a little bit dated inside. I mean, we were used to the pristine rooms of the Meriton, but it was actually an okay room as well. So that worked out, and it was reasonably priced as well.
Yeah, so the accommodations were fine through it all. Food. Okay, here's where kicking in on that disclaimer I made at the beginning of this. Food in Australia. Australians, in my opinion, handle going out for dinner in a different way than we do. First of all, and you've heard us talk about this before, and this was no surprise because we're used to it over in Australia, very few places have table service. You go up to the counter, it's usually a bar, and you order your food from the menu there, and you order your drinks from the menu there. You pay for it right there on the spot, and then they give you a number and you put it on your table, and when it's ready, they bring it to your table. You don't have to tip in Australia at all, which is kind of nice. And all their prices include the final amount. In other words, the taxes and everything are included at the price you see. So if you order a pizza and it says that it's $12.99 and that's all you got, your bill would be $12.99, not $12.99 plus, like in our country, where you'd pay another 13% tax on that, and you don't tip. And so we paid for everything pretty much on our PC MasterCard. And it's just like paying for stuff over here. They have tap and everything, although they don't call it tap. They call it
PayWave.
PayWave, yeah. But anyways, and you just put that on, and it doesn't come up, you know how here in North America, it'll come up with, you know, the tip thing. You know, give you percentages. You can pick one of the above or whatever, put in your own. Of course, you don't have to worry about that in Australia because they don't expect a tip. They don't tip. But that's because their minimum wage for service industry and that is much greater than ours is and the whole bit. Well, I think that's really nice. But it's the selection of food. Everything we ate, I don't remember eating anything that I found really like, oh, that was horrible.
Actually, all the meals that we got were actually very good. Like compared to here, sometimes you'll go to a restaurant and not too happy with what ends up coming out to you. So.
But it's the selection. Well, what I mean by that is most of the restaurants seem to have pizza and burgers on their menu. And then they'll usually have the obligatory schnitzel for some reason. Schnitzels, everybody has schnitzel.
And a lot of places, it was hard to find places that had like dinner salads or something.
Yeah, we were dying for like some vegetables.
I mean, some places would have one or two options for salad, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And then when you did order it, it wasn't, if you expected a dinner salad, it ended up being a very small bowl of salad.
Yeah. And a lot of them didn't have a lot of lettuce in them. And I don't know if that's because of maybe the season they've had this year for growing or whatever, but it was...
We ordered this salad in, actually it was an Outback restaurant, which I always thought was an American chain. And it probably still is. But anyway, we went there because they had salads on the menu. And so we ordered these 2 dinner salads that came with chicken. Well, it was mostly chicken, a little bit of lettuce, and a little bit of lettuce and a little bit of vegetables. It wasn't
and avocado. Everything had avocado.
But... it was because I think they grow avocados.
Yeah, well,
there,
they must.
But it was, we were looking for more of a lighter salad with some chicken on top or something like that. Whereas it turned out to be really heavy on the chicken and not so much on the vegetables. So, I mean, it's just something different than here. I mean, we were kind of looking for lighter options, so. Yeah,
because, I mean, burgers and pizza, they make, and I've said this before, Australians make the best pizza that I've ever had. And without exception, anytime we had pizza there, and you could have it anytime you wanted because it was on every menu.
It's usually like a thin crust or something like that.
But always very good. You know, everything works together on it. It's, you know.
And the burgers I had were good.
Yeah, the burgers were good too.
And
they used, what kind of beef was it they were always talking about?
Wagyu or something.
Wagyu beef. Which does have a slightly different flavor to it than what we're used to here, but that's not unusual. I've been to different places in the world where you have beef or hamburger or something, and it's going to be slightly different. I suppose it depends on what they feed their cows or whatever, livestock. But I mean, not bad. It was fine. I think the 2 best meals, and one's for me that are memorable, where we went to that place in Brisbane, downtown, which their downtown section is a big pedestrian mall that runs several city blocks.
It's on Queen Street.
Yeah, it's called the Queen Street Plaza, and all their major shopping is off there, and there's all kinds of restaurants and things. So we were in a restaurant there called Jimmy's, and we had
I had the beef, soya, ginger, or whatever.
Pepper, black, was it? wasn't it beef and pepper?
No, it was ginger soya or
Oh, okay.
something.
Well, anyways, and I had the chicken satay, and both of those dishes were really good.
No, I had the beef satay,
I
ginger
had
beef satay, and you had chicken something.
satay.
Oh, okay, fine.
You know why I remember? Because I remember the spelling of it.
Okay.
Satay.
Okay,
On there.
fine.
And it's, yours was not
Oh
saying
yeah, you had
satay.
the peanut sauce on it.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
Szechuan
yeah, okay.
style. Anyways, both of those were really, really good. And we went to this place. Walter found it listed. It's called, what was it? Roddy's Rib Shack.
Yeah.
And that you went in there, and their specialty, of course, was ribs. And they also, what caught my eye on the menu, well, the day we went in was a Wednesday, so this was just this past Wednesday, actually, our last day in Brisbane. And they had a wing special. Now, when we were in Australia the last time, either it was just the places we were in or whatever, but we didn't see wings too often on menus. And there was one time, I think that was the first time we were in Australia, we were in a pub and saw wings and we ordered them, and they were huge. They were the whole wing, and they looked like turkey wings, not chicken wings.
Yeah, like all like they had the tip and the middle part and the drumette all attached to one, like, I mean, a giant wing, right? Like, they weren't separated.
Two of us could have eaten those and had
And
invited two
actually,
more
they
people
weren't
over.
really that well cooked. They were, I mean, they were
Yeah.
done, but it's like they were boiled and they threw sauce
It's on them, yeah.
So
but that
it's
was 2 years ago or so, the first time. This time, though, we saw a lot of places were advertising that they had wings, and they're pretty much the same kinds of wings as we have here. So this Roddy's had a special, $1 a wing. So we get in there, and like a couple of pigs, we ordered 14 wings, and they had poutine as well. And they were advertising it as Canadian French fries. Canadian fries with bacon and gravy and the curd, like usual poutine as well, right? And by the way, it is poutine, not poutine. I guess I got corrected by someone who is French Canadian and said they do not say poutine, it is poutine. You have to say the poutine with the accent, poo-poo. Anyways, the girl at the counter, when we ordered those two heart attacks on a plate, I said to her, looking forward to the poutine, and she's poutine. And I said, oh, no, no, no. I said, you do not call it poutine. I said, I am Canadian. I said, it is poutine. It's French Canadian. And she said, well, I hope you like it. So she did come over and said, how was it? And actually, it was really good. I mean, and the wings were really good too. So too bad we'd only discovered this place on our last day there, because it was quite good. Those are the two meals that stick out in my mind. Mm-hmm. We went to Macca's.
Only a couple of times.
Only a couple of times out of desperation. Mainly because we were too tired to look around for anything else. And that's McDonald's, okay? They call it Macca's. Actually, I always thought they called it Macca's. But then we saw it on something on TV, and they spelled it out, and they spell it as M-A-C-C-A or something, Macca. But an A on the end of a word like idea, they pronounce it the way they do in England or in Boston. There's an R on the end of it. So Macca becomes Macca's. That kind of thing. Idea becomes idea. That kind of thing. Just, the regional dialect kind of a deal. So that's why I always thought they were saying Macca's, just because of the way it comes out with the accent and the whole bit. Neither here nor there, just an interesting little thing. Let's see. Precy says, shocking. I thought Oz would be big on fresh fare. I think they've had a really bad year. They had a lot of droughts.
Well, actually, we went into the grocery store and we were going to go get some bananas until we saw the price. They were $7.50 a kilogram, which is like $3.25 a pound.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, they grow all their own bananas, and they had a really bad year this year.
Yeah.
So the banana, actually, they did come down in price a bit, but they were still expensive compared to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we were used to paying 56 cents a pound for bananas, And the last price I saw was $2.50 a kilogram, which is about $1.20 or so a pound. Yeah. So,
and one thing too about their prices in their grocery stores, it's easy to compare them to our prices on many things because the Aussie dollar and the Canadian dollar are almost at par. In fact, ours, when we were over there, was a little stronger. I think for every dollar, we basically paid 98 cents.
Yeah.
Aussie, or 98 cents our money to their dollar, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Until I took what we had left over back to the bank yesterday, and they just nailed me in cash to cash out. They gave me, I took 290 Aussie dollars, they gave me 261 Canadian out of it. That was at something like 0.905349773
which is normally we were getting 0.95. So
yeah, but anyways, Tracy says, I often wonder just what the Japanese Kobe beef cattle think when the farmers massage them with beer every day. They're probably happy. Unfortunately, they're going to be eaten. So, and speaking of food, as well, just as an aside, while we were there in Melbourne and in other places in Australia, the vegans have been revolting. We're having these sit-ins in the main center of Melbourne, the whole bit. We saw it on the news on TV. They're dragging them away. I guess the vegans are a real problem because they're going to the farms and they're chaining themselves to, the cattle stalls, and they're taking themselves to the abattoir places, and they're chaining themselves to the equipment. And I guess they're extremely militant about this, kind of
animal treatment,
treatment, and the whole bit,
all this other stuff. But they're trying to promote that everybody has to become a vegan. So
yeah, I kind of okay, I understand what their point is, the vegans. Yeah, I mean, I like animals too. I try not to think about them when I'm eating them, kind of a deal. And I do know that the animals are being, in some places in the world, or possibly even in our own country or in the United States, in some places there may be some very sketchy kind of ways of treating the animals that you're going to eat. And I agree with that. But there is a way to protest and there isn't a way. And I guess the Prime Minister over in Australia, he declared war on the vegans. Basically, he said, if they're going to do this, if they're going to break the law, he says there's nothing wrong with protesting, but when they start going at night and freeing the animals from a farmer's field and stuff like that, because that's what they've been doing, and stealing their animals to take them to rescue things and things like that. Well, that's somebody's livelihood you're interfering with there. So he said now they're going to lock them up. If they break the law while they're doing their protests and the whole bit, no mercy, lock them up. And I kind of like that. And that gives you a good indication, too, of how the Australian government kind of works, different from the Canadian government. If this was Canada, they'd be going, well, maybe we should sit down with a mediator or an ombudsman or something and spend, $300,000-$400,000 over the next 6 months studying the situation. In the meantime, you go ahead and protest and, try to be nice when you're doing it. In Australia, locking you suckers up. Bingo. So that kind of impresses me with them. They're in an election right now. Just when we were leaving, they announced they were having a federal election in May, or something. Guy was going actually that day saw it on the news before we got off to the airport. He was driving off to the Governor General's house to dissolve Parliament, kind of a thing. And so yeah, they're having a fun time over there. Okay, so accommodations, food. Anything else about food that stands out? Oh yeah, Aussies don't eat. Well, it's actually, they don't work. We could not figure this out. It didn't matter where we were in Australia this trip.
Especially in cities. Anyway.
Yeah. We're out in the morning and it's early, 9-ish kind of a thing. And there's a coffee shop on every corner. In fact, there are more coffee shops in a city in Australia than there are Tim Hortons. I swear, here.
If anybody knows what Tim Hortons is.
The Canadians all know. Tim Hortons on every corner. I guess
maybe it's sort of like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, States. Right?
Yeah.
So
there is a coffee shop, I swear, every 10 meters away from you.
There's tons of coffee shops.
Their coffee's good.
Yeah.
I will give them this. Their coffee is good.
And passing by the shops and the aroma of the coffee is really good.
But they're all in there. But they're in there
In
all
their
day.
business suits and everything else, all day type of thing. Whereas I mean, maybe they get breaks during the day that they can go out and get a coffee. But when I used to work in an office, we didn't really get breaks. We were basically chained to our desk all day long type of thing.
Yeah. So, and then in the afternoon, in around, anytime after 2, if not before, the Aussies
Especially on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, but any day of the week, though. Yeah. They're all standing in the local bistries, bars, whatever, having a drink. Beer, glass of wine, or something more. I'm thinking, what time do you people go into work and what time do you leave work? Now, somebody told us, and we'll talk about her in a minute, that basically they have a coffee break at 10 and another one in the afternoon at some time. Well, the one in the afternoon, they're not drinking coffee. So I don't know, but it just seemed like, whoa, I want to live over here and get a job because you don't really work. Your job is to be in the coffee shop or in the bar.
I mean, technically in Canada, you're supposed to have a break after X number of hours. And people that are in very dedicated positions do get that. But if you work in an office in Canada, they generally don't have breaks. They figure you can have a break at your desk.
Yeah. So we just found this really different. Yeah, no criticism, just different. Not from what we do. And when they go out to eat at night, we watch them. I think food for Aussies is sort of secondary to the social aspect of going to a bistro or a restaurant or something like that. Because they all come in, they've got, first of all, tables. In most places, they have that communal sitting kind of a thing in sections of it, which personally I don't like.
A table that has more than, 8 chairs on it, a big long table, and you can go and grab food and sit at the end of the table or something like that. But you may be sharing that table with a whole bunch of other people
that you don't know.
Well, that's common in New York as well.
Yeah, New York does it too.
But it's a type of practice that I don't really like. I like having my own private space.
I think they do it, well, in New York, I think they do it because a lot of the places in New York City are very, very tiny, and they're trying to get the most people in the small space because of rent and everything is expensive.
Yeah.
So they're crowding them in, and this is one way to do it, squish them all up. In Australia, I don't think that's really why they do it. I think my philosophy is that they tend to be very social, and they gather, and they graze. We were in one place in Brisbane that was a big brewery kind of a thing, and we saw all these business types. Now, maybe it must have been some sort of special thing for them.
Yeah, because they had armbands.
Yeah, they had an armband on or something like this, but they were all talking and they're having their drinks. And this was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it looked like they'd ordered share plates. That's what they call them over there. That may be something in restaurants now that is common here too. But like appetizers, which they don't call appetizers, they call them entrees. And they have a big thing on them, share platter or share plate or something like that. That's what they call them. And that's what they do. So we
can have that here too, but it's not exactly the same.
Well, they had a whole column of share plates.
Yeah.
Whereas here you might see 1 or 2, and they might say, suitable
appetizers
for sharing, or something like that.
Oh, we call them appetizers.
Yeah,
so.
But they call them entrees. And maybe other parts of Europe do too. I don't know, because we've watched some cooking shows, and it seems to be entrees is the word now for appetizers, and mains is the word for
your main meal.
Main meal, which we would call an entree.
For us, we would call appetizers is your meal before your main meal, and our entrees are our main, what Australians would call their mains.
Yeah. So anyways, just,
sort of words.
Lexicon, whatever. But we noticed that they all gathered together, they have their drinks, and if there's any food involved, there's not a lot of it. So I don't know, maybe they eat at home. I mean, food isn't cheap over there, but it's really no more than if you go to a restaurant here. So I suppose if this is something you do every day or whatever, I guess you can drink beer and the hell with the food. I don't know, just kind of a different kind of little cultural thing
I
that's a
think
little
that
different.
culturally they eat differently there
Yeah.
than we do. We eat more. Plus, things seem to be very regimented there. Like a lot of times we'd be out walking around, and the restaurants would be busy as hell at around noon, right? Noon, 1 or so, right? But when you hit 2 o'clock, which often is when we were looking, the restaurants were either closed or they were closed for the afternoon. Or
didn't open again till 5,
Yeah,
or-
I know. Or we were the only ones sitting in the restaurant eating
Yeah.
because nobody was eating at 2 o'clock.
We
So,
tended to eat later in the early part of the afternoon more so because we usually had about one meal at brekkie in the hotel room with peanut butter and toast kind of a thing, and then a big lunch kind of a deal, and then some nights we didn't eat anything at all, or we just nibbled on something that we picked up kind of a deal, but that's the way we were eating. But yeah, so weird. Just looking at what people are saying here. YouTube. Tracy says YouTube had a huge vegan upset 4 weeks ago. Vegan YouTube guru was caught eating fish. Her fan base shattered. And Deb says, I love my veggies but couldn't be a vegan or vegetarian. And Tracy says, Amish do that. Amish do what? I'm not sure what the Amish do. Do you mean eat a big meal in the middle of the day kind of thing instead of at night?
Yeah, I think that's what
And then
farmers
graze?
used to do.
Yeah. And, table. She says table. Oh, the table thing with the number sitting there. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but look how many Amish are in a family. Okay, so they have to. And Deb says it's starters in the UK. That's
Yeah.
what they call it. Yeah.
Well, they do call them starters there too. Some
Hi,
some
Luch.
places they call them entrees or starters.
You gonna eat that now?
And we have menus sometimes here they call appetizers starters, but all our mains are usually called entrees.
Yeah.
Whereas there they call all their starters entrees.
So the reason we brought it up is because it's a little confusing when you read a menu the first time until you catch on to that, and then you're
Well,
fine.
you know, and then there's some things that they call some vegetables different than what we call.
Oh yeah,
What?
capsicum.
Capsicum.
Capsicum. We didn't know what capsicum was. We had to ask.
Well, that was the first time.
Yeah,
I
the first
ever
time. It's peppers.
asked. It's green peppers.
Green peppers. It's capsicum. And it's probably the technical name for them. But anyways, so you get
And
used to it.
then there's they tend to refer to like romaine salad as rocket.
Yeah, rocket salad. Oh yeah, and the other thing too is when you the few Caesar salads I had, what they do is they mix up the Caesar salad, but then they put a soft boiled egg on top of it. Now the first time I had that, I thought that's kind of novel, kind of interesting, not bad. You know, a little runny yolk on your lettuce. Then I stopped ordering them because
You could have ordered it without the egg.
yeah, I guess. But we're trying to figure out why they do a lot of things with eggs. There's eggs on hamburgers, for example. Although, if you go to some places in Toronto now and they have gourmet hamburgers, which seems to be
They sometimes put an
the
egg
rage,
on
they'll
it.
put an egg on it too. So I'm
But
not
they
sure.
do have a lot of meals where they'll put an egg on. But that
Yeah.
I think is also from a Chinese.
Yeah,
point
you
of view,
thought that
because
was
there
more
was a lot of
Indonesian.
Asian foods come with an egg on it, so that could be.
Oh, and Priest says beetroot on hamburgers. Yes. Beetroot on hamburgers, beetroot as a side, beetroot on
Sauce.
sauce, and beetroot on pizza. There were
Yeah.
some pizza you get beetroot. I don't like beets, but I don't mind beetroot. Beetroot tastes, it's pickled kind of thing. I don't know. It tastes totally different than beets.
No, it doesn't.
It does. I don't know. Or well, something about it. Actually, beetroot would be the beet, wouldn't it? Because beet is a root vegetable. So, well, I don't know. Whatever they did to it, I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Fine.
it was fine. Okay, so what was I going to say about food? In the grocery stores, we had to go and get cheese. And of course, there is one cheese they have there, which is a cheap cheese, but it's called Tasty Cheese. And it is. It is tasty. I like it a lot.
It's really good cheese.
It's really good cheese. you know, it's a sort
It's
of a,
one of the best cheeses I've ever had.
Yeah, for,
it's better than the stuff we have.
you know, for one of those, like, what we would call probably processed cheese kind of a thing that
Well,
you
no,
buy.
it's not processed
No.
cheese. It's regular cheese. Like,
Well, it's not
like
aged.
when we
It's like-
get, you know, those bars,
the slabs,
those
the bars, like
right?
Black
But
Diamond,
they have
whatever.
like they have mild tasty cheese and aged tasty cheese and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. But even their mild tasty cheese is better than our mild cheese.
But it is tasty.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's not bad for price, so that's okay. And what was the other thing I was going to say about that? It got me off on the cheese thing. Oh, Tim Tams, which are cookies. I think we've talked about them before. You can get them here in Canada, but the limited selection of flavors.
Only have about 3 flavors you can get.
Over there, they've got about 10 different flavors of these things. They're a very sweet cookie. They're dunked in chocolate covered kind of a thing.
They're good.
They're quite good. But they weren't cheap because we saw them range anywhere between $3.65 to $5 a package.
Yeah.
And the packages are not that big.
And we can buy them here for
Yeah.
about $3 a package. Of course, we get taxed on them.
Yeah, just we don't have as many selection of price,
No.
but of flavors. But they're kind of good.
Food prices in general, with the exception of bananas, seem to be comparable to what we pay sometimes in the grocery store, with the exception of some specialty items. And what I'm saying specialty items is like the taco packages and stuff, like the taco type shells and stuff like that, where we pay $3 or $4 for a package. They're paying upwards of $8.
Yeah, they were expensive. And
But I would think that might be more of a specialty product
Maybe.
for them. Whereas here it seems to be more of a staple.
Yeah, Tracy says you can get Tim Tams at Wegmans in the States too. Yeah, so anyways, overall, food was fine. Oh, the other reason, I should clarify why for us there was less of a selection. There was lots of seafood in various formats. You know, you could have shrimp on your pasta. You could have whatever you wanted. We don't like seafood. So you see that right there limited us there. So when I say that we found the limits or the selection very limited, that's one reason why it was limited. It had nothing to do really with...
I mean, there were a couple of places that we passed by that looked really good.
Yeah.
But they were all they did was serve fish. So
Yeah, so we don't like fish. So that kind of eliminated things. Okay, so what did we see? Well, you saw that all, or if you haven't seen it yet, I've now put them into a playlist as Australia Trip 2019. You'll see all the sites that we saw in there because I took constant video every place we went. But let's see, what sites really stood out? You would think it would be the Great Barrier Reef when we saw it. You would think that. No.
actually, I was never really. People kept saying, "Did you see the Great Barrier Reef when you've been to Australia?" And the first couple of times we went, we didn't go up that way. So I thought, well, this time we should go see that, right? But it never really intrigued me because I wasn't really into snorkeling, and neither was he. So
I like air.
I think that
Grown accustomed
I think
to
if
it.
you're into scuba diving and stuff like that, it might be more interesting. But because we're limited that we don't do that, we ended up taking a glass bottom boat and we took a submersible.
A semi-submersible.
Semi-submersible. And, well, what we got to see of the Barrier Reef is probably not maybe the best area of the Barrier Reef.
No.
So, but, I mean, it was interesting, but would I try and, would
I don't know,
that be a
spit it
major
out.
highlight for me to go to see Australia? No, it isn't.
No. Not saying you shouldn't see it. I guess it's just a question of how
I
you
have
see
to
it.
admit that when we went to Cairns, right,
Mm-hmm.
the landscape in Cairns is very different than other parts.
Well, now
of
you're saying
Australia.
Cairns. Before you were criticizing me for saying Cairns, you go, Cairns! Cairns!
Well, they call it Cairns, but anyway. But it's very, very lush, and lots of green growth, lots of big, huge tropical plants and stuff like that.
It's very
and
tropical.
it's very
Rainforest.
and not as if you go to the other areas of Australia, often they look kind of dry and desert-like, right? So,
Yeah. But every day that we were in Cairns too, it rained. So that didn't really stop us from seeing anything. But
we seem to dodge the clouds a bit at times. So.
I'm just trying to think what one of the sites that really impressed me.
The thing that really outstanding was the view of our hotel room.
Oh, which one?
In Cairns.
Oh, yes, because, well, we want to introduce you to a couple of our little friends. Get your little friend when we talk about this. We have to have our little friends to discuss what we saw outside of our hotel room in Cairns. So, you got your little friend on?
Oh, no, hang on. I got to figure out where my...
got to figure out where. This is my little friend.
Okay.
This is Kanga. Kangaroo. Okay.
And this is Fruit Bat.
And this is Fruit Bat. Now, Fruit Bat is the one that is more interesting than Kangas. I mean, Kangas are so fluffy. Scratch your belly. They love it when their little bellies scratch. Oh, look at the rolls of the eyes head. Okay, children's time now. But the Fruit Bats, out of our hotel room, which was right downtown Cairns, there's all these trees, of course. And hanging in the trees are these guys. These are Fruit Bats. They're also called flying foxes. They can have a wingspan as large as 3 meters out here. Well, there were hundreds of them hanging in the trees there during the day. Just before dusk, just at the start of dusk, they'd all come out of the trees. And it was a black cloud of these things flying all over the place. Can't eat you. So it was incredible because I got a thing for bats. I mean, you know, we had one in the house not too long ago, but ours are just little tiny brown bats. You know, they're little tiny things like this. These guys are quite
They're like
big.
flying mice.
Yeah, but they eat fruit and nectar. They're not carnivores or anything like that. They won't come near. They won't hurt people. They don't hurt livestock. And I guess what happens is every night they're up before dusk and they're all regrouping. It looks like they're all talking because they fly into other trees and just. They hit a branch on a tree and they flip right upside down. And I've got some of that on my video from Brisbane. If you check that out, you want to see them. But I guess they're out looking they go someplace and they go eat their fruit and their nectar. Now, sometimes we did hear from one person that they make a mess because what they do is they'll knock the fruit out of the tree. They take a bite of it. It falls on the ground. They don't finish it. They go to another one. Kind of a thing. So I guess they kind of make a bit of a mess. But they are an endangered species. And I guess one taxi driver or somebody was telling us that...
because of the heat.
The drought.
The drought and the heat. They lost about 20,000 of them. 20,000
of them dropped dead from that. But there are just hundreds of them. And every night, you can set your watch by it. They'd come out of the trees and...
And we saw them. There's a lot of trees across from our hotel in Cairns that they had, I guess they happened to be ideal trees for them to hang around in and during the day. And so we saw tons of them come out of these trees. It was actually at the library in downtown Cairns that the trees that were there, where they were hanging around.
Yeah.
So
anyways, we were on something. We went on this train thing when we were in. That was Cairns, right?
Yeah.
And it was called Kurunda. So you took this train that looped around this mountain thing, and you get to Kurunda. And Kurunda is basically a tourist trap. It's got a lot of stores, markets, that kind of stuff. And then you took the Sky Rail, they call it, which is, you know, like a ski
giant
lift.
Cable car.
Yeah, giant cable cars. You know, you're in a gondola, and I've got that all in the video too. And to leave from there, well, when we were there, where was I leading this up to? I don't know. Forgot something.
Well, no, when we were there, it was like when we got on the train, it was pretty clear all the way up to Kurunda.
Yeah.
And then when we were in Kurunda, it started to rain again, right? And then when we took the cable car back, and you can see on this video, it was raining pretty much all the way back. So
yeah.
What was amazing there is that it's a rainforest, and the trees there were humongous. They were like several hundred feet
Well, it was
high.
a rainforest.
Yeah, and the last time I saw trees that big was when we were in California and saw the redwoods. These were huge trees.
Just went for miles. But every tree we came across, we're looking up, looking for bats. Yeah, didn't see too many in Kurunga. But while we're walking around Cairns all the time, we were checking for bats. Because before that, we weren't. We didn't know anything about them. And then suddenly when we saw them,
did last year when we were in Sydney. We saw fruit bats flying overhead. And then the first night we were in Brisbane, I went out to the store at night, the first night we were there, and I saw a fruit bat fly by. But they were isolated ones. There were only ones there weren't a lot of them around. Whereas when we went to Cairns, we saw hundreds of them.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're checking the trees
hundreds
out all the time.
of them flying around.
Kangaroo eats fruit bat. Yeah. Anyways, get that off. So when we were there, that's what I was going to say. When we were about to get on the Sky, or when we got off the Sky Rail down into the obligatory gift shop, Walter sees the puppets and decided he had to have a fruit bat. So I couldn't let him just have one puppet, so I got Kanga here as well. So there you go. Story of the puppets. Okay, so lots of sights we saw. It was good. We saw lots of things. Now, let's talk about the problems that we had. Well, we didn't have that many, but we had one major problem. And if you've seen the videos, you know what I'm talking about. This involves that whole thing with the airline called Jetstar. So, we were supposed to go from Cairns, fly to Darwin. It's about 2,700 kilometers to Cairns from Cairns to Darwin. Okay. So we get to the airport. We get up at the crack of dawn, like about 5 o'clock in the morning, and off we go to get our flight.
Well, actually, let's back up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Originally, when I booked the trip, I booked the only flight that I could get direct from Cairns to Darwin was on Jetstar. I would have preferred to have booked Qantas or something like that, but because I know Jetstar is a discount airline. Anyway, so I booked that for April the 4th, right? And we had a tour booked for April the 6th, right, in Darwin. So about a month and a half before we left, I got a message from Qantas that said, because Qantas owns Jetstar, that flight had been canceled, right? And the alternative flight they originally offered me for that day was to fly through Adelaide. But what ended up happening was I would fly Darwin to Adelaide, Cairns to Adelaide, and then had a long wait over, and then I'd end up in Darwin at like 1 in the morning the next day, right? And I thought, well, that's like a 20-hour flight to go only a few thousand kilometers. So I said no, I ended up rebooking it for the 5th, thinking, okay, we'll lose a day, but then we don't have this big rigmarole that we have to go all the way through Adelaide to get to Darwin. So anyway, so all that time I had a bad feeling about this flight.
Yeah, I woke up that morning and had a bad premonition too.
And I kept checking the schedules and everything else, and nothing had changed. In the meantime, there was a cyclone forming close to Darwin as well, which got me a little bit worried as well. But anyway, so we get to the airport. Everything's supposedly fine. Everything's still on time, blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. We got there 3 hours early. And then about 20 minutes after we got to the airport, they announced that our flight got canceled.
Yeah, just
and
like that.
And they didn't really give us a good explanation other that the flight was coming from Bali.
And it was still in Bali.
That's
all they told us.
And that's all they told us, and they didn't really know why.
So they said, did we have anything planned or something? They were going, yeah, but not for today, but whatever. Well, they might be able to, they would give us like a voucher for a hotel room, and we might be able to get on a flight that might be going to Adelaide the next day. And then from there, it would be going to Darwin. So here we go back to what he originally said why we didn't go. We go, But they
so
couldn't.
then we would get there like on the 7th or
Yeah.
something. And then
And we only have 4 days
we
booked.
had
there.
only had 4 days booked anyway. So then we'll be out by 2.5 days or whatever when we got there. So I said, let's screw Darwin.
Well, there was no guarantee there was going to be a flight
No.
the next day. They said there was a possibility. They didn't say yes for sure there was going to be a flight for that. So we decided, okay, cancel this flight. This flight's already canceled. Get us on a Qantas and back to Brisbane. The hell with Darwin, with it all. So they did. They were very accommodating with that. They gave us back about $500. It was the difference between what it was going to cost us, to go to Darwin as opposed to going back to Brisbane from Cairns and the whole bit. But in the meantime, we had to make cancellations.
Yeah.
So Walter calls the hotel. The hotel's cancellation policy, we hadn't paid anything up front for them yet. But what was their cancellation
It was 48 hours.
48 hours.
I had
So we're under 24.
the flexible rate, right?
Yeah.
So we're within
24 of it. Yeah. No. We've canceled it and we're charging you for the four days on that.
Not 2 days. They're canceling me. They're charging me for the full 4 days,
which was $660.
Yeah.
For that. We had also booked a tour that was going to happen the day after we got to Darwin. We'd already paid for it here before we left in the whole bit. And they had a cancellation policy. And at the time, I didn't realize what was going on because if I had when he was talking to them, I would have pointed it out. But their policy was 24 hours as well. But they wouldn't...
No, it was 24 hours. They said it was 24 hours. But then they sent me a message that said you had to cancel by April 4th.
Which was not 24 hours. It was 48 hours between it all. I would have argued the point on the phone if I had known that.
Well, no, when I was calling it, I called the tour operator. But I booked it through a third party, which is Viator. So Viator provided the cancellation policy.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, that was another 300 and some odd bucks that we spent, so about $1,000 we're out of pocket for. Now, we do have insurance on the credit cards. We booked these things on the whole bit, and Walter's already started the process of putting in a claim. Whether we'll get anything or not, heaven only knows for it, but, that's what's on the credit card, so we might as well give it a shot. Nothing, if you don't try, the worst thing that'll happen is we're out that money. 10 years time, nobody cares. So whatever. But it's all because of Jetstar. Because they did that. Now apparently, like Carol, you just saw Carol's comment about how bad Jetstar is. Yeah. If you go to Australia, avoid booking a flight on Jetstar. They are a discount airline. They're a subsidiary of
Qantas, but they operate it as a separate entity.
Yeah.
And the two don't talk to each other. So.
No. And so, really... No, not worth it. Now, am I disappointed that we didn't get to Darwin? Yes and no. I was a little excited about going to a place that's pretty much the furthest north end of civilization in Australia. Closest point to the equator in Australia and all that. But I have a feeling Darwin's kind of a one-horse town. Because Walter had this one tour booked. And what was that tour going to show us?
It was Litchfield. It was supposedly... Litchfield Park, jumping crocodiles, and something else, and it's supposed to be very picturesque, but it didn't really look any more picturesque than going to Northern Ontario. So
well, it sounds sort of like a let's make a tourist trap kind of a thing. And anyways, I don't think we missed much by not getting to Darwin, and that did give us, every cloud has a silver lining. So when we get back to Brisbane, we saw more of Brisbane than we would have. And Brisbane's kind of nice. Well, not kind of. It is nice. I kind of like Brisbane. Actually, I kind of like Brisbane better than Sydney or Melbourne.
I think that Brisbane and Melbourne are the two cities that are nicest in Australia. Sydney is a third as nice. But I think...
Hi, Roy.
I think because Sydney gets so many bloody tourists there, that it lacks some uniqueness to it.
Yeah. But Roy says, Hi guys, welcome home from your once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Roy? No, this is the third time we've been there. So it's the third once-in-a-lifetime adventure kind of a thing. But anyways.
Well, actually, one thing I have to admit, I didn't find the East Coast as interesting as
the West Coast.
As going down to Southern Coast.
Or Southern Coast, yeah.
Because we went, last year we did Melbourne, Adelaide, and Perth, and I thought there was more to see in those areas than there was in the eastern coast of Australia.
Yeah. But it might also be that we're, first time you're amazed because you're in Australia. You never thought you'd get there. The second time you're like, let's see more of Australia. This is cool. Third time it's like, been there, done that. We're just doing this now for the sake of it. I don't know. It was a good trip.
It was a good trip, but I don't think I'm Australia.
I think we're Australia out. We need to go to other places in the world. So that was some of the problems. The other problem we had, which I put down here is what's pissing Walter off, was the car rental. So you know that we had a problem. I think I had that on video or mentioned it when we went to Florida with Alamo. We gave them our credit card, and then they came back and says, oh, the credit card's been rejected. And I said to the guy, run it through again. And he says, I can't. And he wouldn't. So we got over that little problem. We were blaming the bank for that holds that card and whatnot, because we had no other problems with it on anything else in the trip. So why there? So we get to Avis in Brisbane to pick up the car.
I think I told them too much information because I said that my credit card would pick up on the extra insurance.
And you see, there's where the killer was. Because then we started comparing it to Florida's situation. We had told them in Florida the same thing. Our credit card would handle the insurance. Because they always want to sell you more insurance and scare you into buying it. Because, you know, the deductible's $4,000 or something like that. And we don't cover, in Australia, they didn't cover the roof of your car or the undercarriage of your car. So don't go anywhere where a kangaroo suddenly just hopped onto the roof and crushed you down and you hit a speed bump, you know, because it's not going to be covered. And all this stuff, unless you have their insurance. So when Walter turned around and said, and we knew all of this, said, no, we have coverage on our credit card. Then she says, okay, fine. She plugs it all into the machine and the computer says no. Card gets rejected again. And she won't run it again.
Well, actually what it was is she supposedly phoned Visa, which is a Visa card.
She had her finger down on the...
made this phone call and tried to do it through the phone. And supposedly the card got rejected that way too, which I can't believe because I have a huge credit limit on that
And we
card.
didn't have any problem with the card anywhere else.
In fact, last year I rented a car in...
Florida.
No, in Melbourne.
Oh, Melbourne.
But remember decided to get the
But we decided to get their insurance. And the first thing, so that card went right through. It's the same card. No problem. So do you smell something suspicious here? Yes.
I have yet to do it. I'm going to phone the bank this week and find out why the card got declined. And I have a suspicion that when I ask them about it, they're not going to find the transaction.
No, and also he looked online as well, and there was no indication that the card had ever been tried and declined on there. So I think the lesson to learn from this is do not tell them you're going to use the insurance on your credit card. Give them minimal amount of information. They offer you insurance. You are not obligated to buy their extra insurance. There is a part of the insurance that you have to have that is included in the price of your contract for the car and everything, and you can't get around that.
Well, in Australia you can.
Yeah.
There's LDW and CDW, but in the United States you can decline that.
Yeah, but anyways, you don't tell them you're using this third-party insurance thing. You just simply say, I'm not interested, thank you. Then they'll probably start out, well, you know, because then they'll try to scare you. You got a $4,000 deductible in this, if you don't get this and blah, blah, or whatever, and you have to do this and that and the whole bit. They try to scare you into it, and you just look at them, politely smile, and say, no, thanks. Do not tell them that you've got insurance on another card, because then when they run your fucking credit card through, it's going to get rejected because they're rejecting it. It's it's obviously, it is a scheme or scam. That's the word I want. Scam. It's a scam with them. So buyer beware that they do this. And since it happened to us twice in 2 different places in the world, this is why we're pretty sure that this is a scam.
Well, not only that, I've read some other issues online that people said that suddenly their card got declined when it's not, hasn't been declined for anything else. In fact, I use that card all over Australia, and the only time it got declined is when I was trying to rent a car.
Yep. And you even phoned the credit card company, didn't you, before we went to let them know we will be in Australia, you know, because sometimes they see the charges come through and they wonder if someone's taken off with your card and is having an exotic holiday or something like that. So he'd already done that too. And that was because we didn't do that when we went to Florida, just thought for safeguards, because most of the time they tell you now, years ago they wanted you to do that, but now they just say, no, we don't need to know that. That's okay.
But so, I still did it
still
anyway because I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So that was a real pain in the butt. So between that and Jetstar, those were our 2 biggest problems. And we solved them. So it's okay. Well, we ended up paying the insurance for it. But, you know, like I said, 10 years time down the road, who'll know? Who'll care? So anyways, now let's talk about the people that we met. We met Aussies are all very nice. In fact, I saw something that impressed me to no end. I would like to think it would happen in Canada, but I don't know if it would. We were on the bus in Brisbane. We went to some mountain or something.
Mount Coot-tha.
Mount Coot-tha or something like that. Whatever. Isn't there a song?
Yeah, wow.
So, anyways, we went there and we're coming back on the bus. We'd figured out how to use the bus system, which was not too hard to do. And it was very easy for me because I didn't have to figure it out at all. I just did what he told me to do. And luckily we got to where we needed to be. This young guy got onto the bus at one of the stops. And most people use a card, you know, a tap on, tap off type of card. We had one of those. We'd bought it and put money on it and did it that way. But this guy was paying cash. But he was paying in change, and the bus driver wasn't letting him get away with it. Bus driver counted it all. He says, you still owe me a dime. 10 cents. Guy didn't have it. So he kind of like, he's reaching in his pockets for whatever. So he kind of said to the rest of the bus, anybody can lend me a dime kind of a thing, or give me a dime. And a lady right in the front of the bus, she did immediately. Actually, I had a fistful of change. I was thinking, sure, fine, here, what do you want? I pay for your fare because this change is no good to me when I get out of this country. But she did this for him. But in the meantime, another lady at the back of the bus came up with her pocketbook in her hand, and she was going to pay for his fare. But the other lady says, oh, he's already got the dime. It's okay. And I was just thinking, would that happen on the TTC in downtown Toronto if somebody didn't have enough change? Would somebody? I'd like to think that somebody would, but I don't know if they would. So that just, for me, kind of summed up how Australians are. You know, they are really nice people. Everywhere we went, they're friendly. They say, hi, how are you? The wait staff, you know, given the situation, not waiting on tables. Some places had table service, but not many. Very friendly, very nice. On the street, they're very friendly, very nice. You do not feel threatened there at all. We never have.
In fact, one thing nice about going to Australia is that I always feel very, very comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
In anywhere that I've been there.
Yeah, you never feel like if you go out at night, we didn't go out much at night, but you don't really feel like, the only time I felt a little uptight was back at the Gay Pride Parade last year when we were in Sydney and we were trying to get back to the hotel, and
there were throngs of people.
And there were a lot of drunk people out there and whatnot. That was the only time I was a little bit iffy.
In general, we never ever felt uncomfortable in anywhere in Australia.
But the people are so nice. So here's another example of somebody that's really nice. One of my subscribers, and I don't know if Sue, she's not on here today. I don't know if I think she follows my vlogs more than she follows our live. But her name is Sue Manning. And she knew we were going to Australia, and she'd reached out and with an email back before we left and saying, well, she lived very close to where we'd be staying in Brisbane, or not in Brisbane, but in Cairns. And, if we could get together or whatever. Well, I didn't really want to impose on a stranger, for one thing. Plus, our schedule from one day to the other day, we weren't sure what we were going to do. So I didn't really think, I think I sent her back and I said, well, thanks for the offer and everything. We're kind of up in the air exactly what we'll be doing specifically day by day. Kind of a deal. Well, we got back in to the hotel room in Cairns, and there was a message on the phone, or the phone rang, and it was down the desk at front offices. The lady says, apparently, she says, you had a call from a lady who wanted to know if you were staying here. And the receptionist said, and I told her you were, and she left her number for you to give her a call. Her name is Sue Manning. Well, I knew who she meant when she said the name. But she says, apparently you're some kind of YouTube celebrities. And I thought, go with the flow on that one. Yes, we are. I just left it at that, didn't explain it. I just figured, yeah, we're such big celebrities. If I get 150 views on one of my vlogs, I think I've made it. Not getting quite a million hits on any single video. So anyways, I called Sue, and we made arrangements to meet up, and she'd come, and she was going to take us around to some quilt stores, because she knew I was interested in that, and some other things. Well, we had a really nice day with her. She took us and showed us some things that we would not have seen if we hadn't been with her. And we went to lunch and things, and of course that's where I bought all the some more fabric, because she took us to a couple of really cool quilt stores in the area as well. So that was really nice. And Sue, on my vlog tomorrow, is a person of interest. I did an interview with Sue. I mean, we were in the botanical gardens having cappuccinos, and I interviewed her and put it on video, or to put up on the vlog as a person of interest. She also brought me a bunch of pictures of some of her artwork, which is really spectacular.
That was really nice.
And she rescues birds, and she has quite a few birds, and there's some pictures of her birds as well. And like, these are not like, they're not a sparrow, okay? They're types of parrots and budgies and stuff like that, but they're really beautiful birds that she's got. She's a really interesting person. So I did a fairly extensive segment on tomorrow's vlog about Sue. So that means now we've got 3 people, well actually 4 people that we know in Australia. We have Nairi. Hi Nairi, did you get on here today? I don't see her yet. They're on holidays right now. Nairi's a school teacher over there, and they're on their Christmas break. I swear.
Christmas break?
Or not, Easter break.
I don't know if Adelaide's on their Easter break.
She said they were on school holidays.
Okay.
So she told me that. She sent me a text message for that. Jeez, jump on my throat. Go for it. I know you don't. So be quiet.
Okay, fine.
Anyways, so much for the domestic. So... what was I talking about? Now you threw me right off.
Yeah, we're school holidays.
Yeah.
The people, 4 people with
so Nairi, who we had, we met her and her friend, and we had dessert and coffee with them when we were in Adelaide. And we know a couple that we met years ago on one of our other excursions to China that live in Perth, and they were really nice to have us over to their place for dinner, and they took us around too in the second trip to Australia. And now we have Sue in Brisbane, and there's Chris, who we really didn't get an opportunity to meet with Chris, and Chris isn't on here today. She's Inviting Thoughts is what she goes by, and has her YouTube channel and her Facebook page, and I did that on one of my vlogs. But we did talk to her via messages on here and whatnot. But we were just too busy with a lot of other things, but she gave us a lot of suggestions of things we should see and should do, which we took up some of those. She said the brewery tour was good, and it was. We went to that in Brisbane. So, yeah. So we've got networking. That's what they call it, networking in Australia. So, memorable moments in the trip. What stands out? The bats are one that stand out. Watching those bats.
Yeah, the bats were
That
quite
was-
incredible. Brisbane itself was quite enjoyable to go to. The weather was nice.
Yeah, the weather was nice in Brisbane, about
That's
28,
always nice
29
to be
each
when,
day.
when you come back to 4 degrees and it's miserable, rainy, and drab here.
Cairns rained every day. We were there.
But it
didn't
was nice
stop.
and warm.
But it was nice and warm. So, you know, you dried off very quickly.
Yeah, so that didn't stop us from doing things because it was nice and warm and it was raining. Whereas here it's usually cold and miserable when it's raining. I can't say it was as exciting a trip as last year when we went to Melbourne and Adelaide and all that other stuff. But it was interesting. We went up to Noosa. Noosa was nice. It's too bad it was raining 2 days when we were there.
Yeah, that was the
But,
resort-like town.
Yeah, and
That's where we had the
Gold
really
Coast was
fantastic
kind of
room.
interesting, though not as interesting as I thought it might have been.
No, but that's funny too. The Gold Coast. Okay, he's talking about the Gold Coast all this time. Gold Coast is a city. They called the city Gold Coast. I don't know, but
it's also an area.
I had problems with prepositions on this. Am I in the Gold Coast or am I on the Gold Coast? I don't know which. I mean, okay.
They also have north of
It's an English
Brisbane.
teacher
That was
thing.
south of Brisbane.
Yeah.
And north of Brisbane, they have something called the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Which is not actually, I don't think, a place.
It's
I
a
think
coast.
It's a coast, yeah.
It's like I don't know, but anyways, it's very nice. The only problem with Gold Coast is it's geared towards people who like to sunbathe, swim, surf, snorkel, that kind of thing. None of the things that we do. So I'm glad we only spent the time that we did when we were there.
Yeah.
But that's where we discovered from out of there that we went to Fifi's. Fifi's Fabric. And I just did an Idiot Quilter episode showing you all the fabrics I bought that are Australian type of fabrics in their look and everything. That was a fantastic place. Actually, the funny thing about that one is the lady who was working in there, she was asking us, got invited to a wedding here in Canada for I think in June or July. And it's in a place called Collingwood. And Collingwood's about an hour and a half, 2 hours northwest of us, kind of a thing. And it's cottage country, kind of a deal. And she says, so where's that from where you live? Well, Walter got out the phone and tried to show her, but you know, it's like somebody showing you a map of Australia if you've never been there. You know,
it's about 2 hours. It's about an hour and a half north of us.
She wanted to know how close we were, though, to the Missouri Star Quilt Company. That's in the States, and it's in Missouri. Went, well, we're about...
What's about a 14-hour drive?
14-hour drive straight with no stops to it from where we are. So she says, she didn't think it was that far. And I thought, whoa, they have the same problem with distances that we had with Australia. You know, you see Australia, it's a little place on the map like this. You don't realize this is as big as the United States. So, you know, traveling from Perth to Sydney is the same as going from where we live, Toronto area, to Vancouver, which is like 3,000 kilometers. So, anyways, she asked us about mosquitoes. They said something about...
No, we said to her, I said to her, make sure you bring lots of mosquito spray. She said, what should I know about that area? And I said, make sure you bring mosquito spray. And she kind of looked at me like, I said, there are lots of mosquitoes in the summertime in Canada.
Like they have mosquitoes in Australia too, although we never came across any. But no, not like
many, not like what we have.
Not like the kind that fly down.
Not like
and
when you
steal your baby.
That suck all the blood out of you.
yeah. Well, if you want to lose weight, you know, go to Collingwood in July or June. I mean, suck all the blood out of you, you'll come out skinny as hell. Then you'll die. But anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. And what else was memorable about the trip?
We also did, what was the other thing? Australian Zoo.
Yeah, the Australian Zoo. At first when we got there, I was a little hesitant. I thought, I walked in, I've seen better. But as time went on and the more we walked around it and the whole bit, the little more impressive I got about it, or more impressed about it. And their show was really good. I only have part of it on a video, but where you see the crocodiles. or the crocodile doing his thing. But they also had these birds that they, the handlers came in, let them go, and they'd fly through the stadium. And one woman had they told her
that wasn't on your video, though.
No, it wasn't. I didn't have that on the video. I wish I did have it on the video because that was interesting. But it was funny too because they asked a volunteer in the audience just stand up and put their arms out like this. Oh, and if you've got a $10 bill or whatever, and one so I have a 20. She said, oh yeah, just fold that up. That'll do. And put it in your hand. And this bird, I'm not sure what kind of bird it was, looked like a type of falcon or something, or eagle, I don't know. Flew down, landed on her arm, snatched the bill out of her hand and flew back down to the trainers. And they were making big jokes about that, right? That she'd just been ripped off by the bird. But then the trainer says, okay, take it back. Bird got up, flew back to that woman, dropped it in her hand. I mean, that was kind of interesting with all that. And of course they had kangaroos and you could feed them. I didn't bother to feed them this time because this was stupid. You were in the back 40 of this zoo, and they had signs saying you can get feed for the kangaroos at any of the retail outlets. They were like miles back. So, if you'd known about that in advance, I suppose you could have bought the feed and taken it with you. But I wasn't going all the way back. And I mean, these kangaroos are well fed anyways. And I gave one a little squitchy on the head because, they like to be a little squitchied. But they're so fluffy. They're so cute. I love kangaroos. But I don't know what else stood out. I guess we're not that impressed anymore. We've been there.
It was really nice. It was
yeah.
nice and warm. It was people were great. It was a great place to have a holiday.
Yeah, I was ready to come home though.
Yeah, I was too.
And
even today,
yeah.
Even though it's cold, it's miserable, it's rainy today, it's drab here. There's no green. It's all like really brown and everything else. And it's 4 degrees. Actually, it's funny because it's 4 degrees here. And nobody here, because it's spring, is wearing a winter coat.
No.
Everybody here is wearing, even myself, I'm wearing a light sweater when I went out today.
Well, yesterday, it was like what? 16?
Yeah,
or something?
18. Actually.
And the shorts have come out. There were some young people out there wearing the shorts. With it all. And in Australia, they were complaining. We were watching their news, and they're giving their weather forecast. Said, "Whoa, okay, in Brisbane, it's going to be a high of 28 and a low of 18. You might want to get those fireplaces, if you have one, lit up for tonight. It's going to be cold. It's 18 C. That's balmy. I mean, but we don't handle heat that well. They don't handle cold that well over there.
No, I know. It's nice when we got back. What was nice is it's brisk here, and it's I like that cold air feeling.
Yeah,
we're so used to that cold air feeling that when you go somewhere and it's stifling hot all the time, that you actually miss the cold air a little bit.
Yeah, Tracy says it's 70 where she is right now.
Yeah.
70 C? Holy crap, you must be boiling, girl. I know it's Fahrenheit.
70 is around 20. So 20 Celsius,
so
which is actually cold for them in
Australia. But anyways, so the other thing too is, now if I jump down to, we usually talk about what we're watching. Well, we're not watching much, but we did in Australia watch this show. We got
hooked on one of their reality shows.
We had seen it before when we were in Australia. It's a cooking show, but it's called MKR, My Kitchen Rules. I guess that a few years ago they did an American version of this and it didn't catch on, but they've been doing it for about 10 years in Australia. And here's the funny part. Now, remember what I said at the beginning of today's live about my disclaimer, about what I'm going to say about Aussies and things like that. You've heard me talk about their food, their customs, their style. On this show, these people have to cook gourmet dinners for everybody else and they get judged on them and the whole bit. Well, there's 2 phrases they use. It's like a drinking game. Every time they say one of these phrases, take a drink, you'll be drunk before the end of the show. One is, well, I'm hoping that it is
melt in your mouth.
Melt in your mouth. And well seasoned. Anything that we had in Australia I don't know what they consider well seasoned. It doesn't include anything that's really hot. That's for sure. In fact, one group on this TV show were Peruvians, but they live in Australia, and they had added all kinds of hot chilies to theirs, and half of the people at the table could not eat their food because it was way too hot. So, anyways, it's a really interesting show because there's a little bit of drama in it too. Like two of the people are having an affair,
and I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's all fake. With it, it's just like any reality show that you watch, but it kind of captivates you. So to the point where I think tonight we might be able to see the finals, because you can go to the television station's website and they stream it. So
yeah, we got real hooked in it. We got to see their show.
We can't go anywhere tonight. We got to catch MKR. And it was like an hour and a half show. And they ran it Sunday to Wednesday.
Yeah.
It doesn't run on Thursdays and Fridays. But actually, Australian television
was not that exciting.
No, it's
now, mind you,
limited.
We may not have gotten all the stations
they can get, yeah,
that they can get, and they have something called Foxtel, which is sort of like a movie station thing.
Yeah.
And now I don't know, like I said, we're stuck with whatever the hotel gave us. So we don't know. One room we were in, we were able to hook our iPads into the TV set using an HDMI cable, and we were able to watch some of our Netflix and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we weren't able to on the last couple of nights. They had TV sets where I couldn't connect. So, but also the Netflix, whenever you travel in the world and you have a Netflix subscription, you can get their version of Netflix because you've subscribed, you have an account, right? So if you go to the United States, we can get the Netflix in the United States, but the problem is that you may end up watching a show there that you can't get back in Canada because the Netflix in Canada doesn't carry it. And I noticed that in Australia too. They had a few movies that were Australian based that I know for sure we wouldn't be able to get here. So,
but yeah, entertainment was there. Whatever. So what else? I guess, yeah. I still love Australia. I like.
Well, it's a great place to visit.
It's a great place. If you ever have the opportunity, go.
It's too bad it's such a long flight away.
Yeah. But I think maybe our next trip might be, I think it's getting time to do a cruise again. I don't know, or something.
I don't know.
Or maybe a river boat thing in Europe, or I don't know. But right now, no. We have to recuperate from this one and get on with our lives and get out of this jet lag thing. So,
is anybody saying anything?
No. So if you are interested in seeing what we saw, whole series of videos in a playlist on the channel for Australia, so check those out. I am, as I said again, tomorrow going to, on my vlog, there will be a segment about Sue, who so graciously took us around and did everything. She's a great person. So I'm sure you'll enjoy meeting Sue. I'm just surprised Sue isn't on the live. I thought...
Well, she was actually in the process of moving from Cairns to...
Oh, she's got everything boxed up, yeah.
I can't remember where she said she was moving to. She was moving...
Mackay.
Mackay?
Mackay.
Down...
Mackay.
Mackay, down further on the coast. And that's actually where she's originally from.
Yeah.
And she's going back to look after her parents. They're aging.
They're 87.
So, there is a very good possibility that she's in the process.
Yeah, she could be doing all that. But actually, just before I forget, one thing about Aussies and the alphabet. I swear, we have 26 letters in our alphabet. They only use 13 of them. Everything is shortened. University is uni. Everything has got like a
utility vehicle is a ute.
And we've been saying Cairns because it's Cairne. S.
No ER. There's
what?
No E. CAR.
Oh yeah, there's no E on the
S.
Well, there should be. So it'd be Cairns. I don't know. Anyways, Thanks. I stand to be corrected once
Right,
again by
okay,
you.
fine.
See the pen?
At least you
See the
should
end?
always
See the
learn
end
how
of-
to spell.
See the end of this pen? Right
Learn
between
how
the-
to spell.
Between the eyes. Anyways, I was an English teacher.
Yeah, you know how
You
to
don't
spell.
expect me to spell. Those that can't teach. Okay, so they don't say it as cairns. They say it as cans. And there's a lot of words that, I swear, they drop consonants everywhere. It's in the accent, I guess, or whatever. But I just find it interesting that they don't use all the letters of the alphabet.
Yeah, but we say stuff too. Like nobody goes to Toronto. You go to Toronto. Toronto.
Toronto.
Toronto.
Toronto.
You don't go to Toronto.
No, only Toronto people say
We
Toronto.
live in Oshawa.
Toronto.
We live in Oshawa. We say, oh, we live in Oshawa.
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 Yeah.
We don't say Oshawa. We don't live in Oshawa. So, I mean...
And we
do
don't
what
say
they
Walter.
do,
We say a-hole.
we do the same thing. They do the same thing. It's part of their dialect or whatever.
Well, whatever. Yeah, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying this is neat, kind of... It puts you in an awkward situation, though, when you're there and you're talking to an Aussie. Should you pronounce something in the way they say it with their accent, or should you say it the way we would say it in our accent? I don't know. In fact, where were we that early in the trip, somebody tried to imitate a Canadian accent?
Oh, that was the lady in Fifi's that's going to... We're all
That's right.
going to the cottage.
Yeah, it wasn't a Canadian accent. Well, I'm not really sure what a
We're
Canadian
all
accent
going
is.
to the cottages.
The cottage. I don't know. I just said to her, just put a at the end of every sentence, and I,
I
said,
said,
you'll
make
speak
sure you have
Canadian.
lots of mosquito repellent. And she kind of goes, ooh.
Yeah,
And they call them mozzies there.
Mozzies. Okay. You see? Shorten it there, too. They have so many words that they shorten. You need to, it's like learning shorthand for stuff. You have to learn all the abbreviations.
Yeah, well, that's how a country works.
I guess. But anyway, it's not what I'm complaining about. It just kind of makes it unique and interesting. So that on that note, we should be going. So, what's cooking? What do we have for dinner tonight?
I don't know, chicken and rice.
Oh, okay, boring. Whatever with that. And yeah, so that's it. Now, one thing before we go, let you know. Next week is Easter here in Canada. I guess everywhere. I don't know. And we're going to my sister's for dinner on Sunday night. So she expects us to be over there around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That means we're going to have to push up the time of our live 1 hour. So instead of at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you're interested with that. So if you come at 4, you're a little late with that. So at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, check out the vlog, and hope everybody has a good week.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.